Our 2025-2026, the draft of the district calendar presented by Dr. Palmer.
Thank you. There you go. I was able to meet with our tech school as well as our other two sending schools, the Quakertown and Palisades, to discuss a draft of the 25-26 school calendar. I believe you have it in front of you. It's been posted. I want to highlight just a few items. One, our start date, first day for students, would be the 25th of August. That would be starting before Labor Day. Labor Day next year will begin on the 1st of September. Typically in the past, we had started after when Labor Day was the 1st, but I think we agreed that with our requirements and the way that it fell, it would really push our last day into the 3rd week of June, and didn't really want to go that far into the month of June. Pointing out a few other things, we have holidays in the month of September and October when the Jewish holidays occur. The winter break would begin on the 24th of December. And we would be out on January 1st and 2nd to return after break on the 5th of January. During the month of February, we would again have the same holiday for President's Day with a non-school day on the 13th. This year's the 14th, where we have our offices open. The spring break would fall at the beginning of April. So we'd still have that Friday and the Monday around the Easter holiday. And the final day of school for students in June would be on the 9th. That gives us 181 student days, which would be the same as this year. And that would give us 11 in-service days for our faculty. That we would be adding one in-service day during the month of May, which we haven't had before. That's actually, that 19th is on the primary election day during that time. In terms of half-days, we would have them scheduled on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, the 25th, the Tuesday before winter break on the 23rd of December, on the 2nd of April, which would be the day before Easter break or spring break, and then finally on the last student day, which would be the 9th of June. Any questions about the calendar? We were pretty in sync with our other two sending districts. These days are really going to be the same for them. The only question was, I think the other schools are doing in-service days on the 23rd or the 22nd, but they would be closed for those days for 2 full weeks.
So I just had a question.
Yep.
On December 23rd this year, they got out half day on the 20th. Is there a reason why they changed? Is it because it's extended because they have Thursday and Friday? Because here it's half day, 23rd, but then this past year they had the whole day off, and then they had half day on the 20th. Is that just?
Yeah, we're essentially keeping the same because we're off on the 2nd on this calendar to make that full.
Is that why? That's
second week
that's
of
is that why? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Just
You basically get a full week and part of another,
you get a little bit more. Yeah.
depending where it's going to fall.
Okay.
And I think that was part of our debate. Do we come back on the 2nd? And I think anyone thought coming back on that Friday, we had a lot of people
Yeah.
showing up.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
I just had a quick question, because I know there's been talks about Diwali, and it looks like we're like one day off on Diwali. I know
Diwali is on the 20th
Yeah.
of October, which is when we have an in-service day.
Oh, I have it as the 21st, but maybe.
Is it?
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, that's wonderful. That's great. Thank you.
We're trying to accommodate.
Yes, I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
It was 21st this year.
Thank you.
Last year.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So next on our agenda, thank you so much, Dr. Palmer. Next on our agenda will be the Pennridge High School graduation proposal draft by Mr. Kenny.
Thank you so much. First of all, Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year.
Today, Dr. Palmer and Mr. Barrios asked me to come up and speak about graduation, so I am very excited and thrilled. I know it says proposal up here, but based on the email that I sent out prior to Christmas, we already kind of made that soft announcement to the community. So today is really about me addressing the board directly, as well as the community, that we're bringing our graduation ceremony back to Hellman Field. So the rationale behind bringing it back to school is really about value. Value to our culminating activity and this monumentous occasion for our students to celebrate here and to showcase our own facility. But most importantly, to bring our community into the celebration. So we talk about value. It's a value for our students, it's a value for Pennridge School District, and it's a value to our community as well. Why wouldn't we want our students to graduate in our own building and our own community? So I kind of pop through this. So by the numbers, I did have this set up to kind of walk people through that there's 16 high schools in Bucks County. That 13 of those high schools celebrate their commencement ceremonies outside. That only 3 have indoor ceremonies. 2 of those schools are actually on their own campuses because they have the facilities to support it. Pennridge was the only district that was using a third-party venue to have their commencement ceremony. So I think that's important information, and I'll get to that a little bit more just based on some of the feedback we received. And this was from the students. When I first came to Pennridge last October, I anecdotally had spoken to a lot of students, community members, and other people about why do we have graduation at Stable Arena. Now keep in mind, it was a great ceremony. I have 2 children of mine who graduated from Pennridge, and we celebrated that commencement ceremony at Stable, so it wasn't a criticism in any sense, it was kind of more of an understanding. Now, when I spoke to the students, some were extremely excited about bringing it back to home. The big question, the big issue was, everybody said, what happened? Did it rain? Last commencement ceremony during the pandemic apparently was extremely hot. Others said, hey, we want it to be at Stable. The majority of the students and individuals who I've spoken to about that based that on the premise that their siblings or other family members had graduated in that venue, therefore they wanted a little bit of consistency from that. The one thing that I can say is nobody absolutely said, Ketty, you're out of your mind for trying to bring this back. So there's that excitement, but I think in any areas of change, there's always a little bit of trepidation. So that leads us into the considerations in the planning. What are our contingency plans? The logistics of shifting it from Stabler to the high school. Can we actually get it scheduled for 2025? And then how do we continuously honor the existing traditions for graduation as well as build new traditions? All right, this isn't the right presentation.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. So the next slide.
Roll with it, Tim.
The next slide was the infographic that we put together. to pretty much announce to the community that we'll be holding graduation ceremony on June 4th at 6 p.m. at Hellman. The add-on to that was actually the contractual rain dates that we have worked in with the organization that we're contracting out with, that the first makeup day would be Thursday at 6 o'clock at Hellman, and then we're able to work in a third date, which would be Friday at 6 o'clock. Now so when it comes to those contingencies, we put a lot of work and a lot of effort into ensuring that, independent of the weather, that we'll be able to come up with which one of those dates. Through Mr. Barrios and Dr. Palmer and I will kind of sit together a week before, do the best we can do it, reading the tea leaves, and they have experience doing that at Abington. So in my conversations with other principals who have gone through this, very rarely are there occasions where schools have had to shift, but we wanted to do was build in those contingencies.
And if I may expand upon that,
Go ahead.
when you think of contingencies as well, I believe the last time graduation was held was during the day, at
Yes.
noon or something. So when the sun was at its zenith, we had graduation. So this will
Started at
be
10.
early evening.
Okay.
And we can also ensure that we have live streaming in our auditorium, which is climate controlled for folks,
You're
you know.
stealing my thunder.
Okay. I'm just trying to back you since this presentation's
So from the tradition.
New Year.
From the tradition, what we're looking at doing, and there is an increased cost to bring the ceremony back. Those costs are really generated in us making sure that we're providing a first-class experience for not only our students, but the community and their parents. All right, so weather, parking, heat, sound was an issue in the last one. So we contracted out with a local company that is going to, one, provide a bigger stage that was here. Two, provide 2 video screens on either side of this stage to ensure that all the parents can see their students receiving their diploma. Additionally, they're bringing in a separate sound system outside of ours to ensure that everybody can hear everything that can cover the entire stadium. And additionally, as Mr. Barrios said, we're bringing in live streaming capability so that individuals, it'll be live streamed directly in our auditorium as well, or for anybody who's at home or not here. The whole premise was, can we fit everybody in the stadium? How many seats are we going to be able to get? Based off of our seating capacity in the stadium, as well as our graduating class, we estimate that families, well, it's not an estimation, we know that families are going to be able to receive up to 8 tickets for the stadium, as well as the minimum of 2 seats in the auditorium. That way, if Grammy and Grafty don't want to be out and it's a little bit hot out, or there is a question of some type of rain, we have the ability for individuals to see it live streamed on campus. The other major concern would be parking. How are we going to manage parking? We know that every family will have at minimum, at this point in our planning, 1 parking space on campus, and we're still exploring either contracting out to local places here, or even possibly opening up our fields to have on-grass parking. So those processes are still in the place of planning, but what we do know is that the companies are ready to move, and we're ready to have, the dates are set for the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th at 6 o'clock. We just need to fine tune some of those details, and that will bring in our commencement back home. So any questions?
No, thank you.
Very well done.
Yeah, thank you for
That's
putting
great,
this
thank you.
together.
It's great
It's
news.
fun. I've said this before, this is a really fun presentation, because it's
Yeah.
something that I know personally, my administrative team and myself are very passionate about trying to bring these commencement exercises back. So thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
Oh,
I mean, we might have the girls' flag football championship.
yes.
Hopefully it won't be this
Okay, yeah. What to do?
All right, next on our agenda is the upcoming programs for mental health and wellness presented by Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, everyone.
I'm excited to present a program that our school social workers, our counselors, and other professionals within the school district have been asking about. QPR, as the screen shows, question, persuade, refer, is a training for staff. It can, Ms. Kramer posited, can also be a training for students, as obviously as well as the community, and that's one of the reasons why we're hosting this. Our board president actually asked about the next steps in terms of QPR, and is it possible that we move the next phase of this to the students, as well as school-wide to the faculty as well, outside of just this evening program. So that is certainly a coming attraction and something that we would like to see move forward. I think this is a good start in terms of a training for the community. It's important to note that the staff, this was advertised to the staff district-wide, and they have an opportunity to participate and earn professional learning time hours if they attend this event. It's also important to mention that QPR is not a form of counseling, and it's not a form of treatment. It's a way for staff members, students, to act, and even parents and guardians in the community. The focus of the training is on helping people understand and recognize a mental health crisis. Additionally, to understand warning signs, signals, clues related to communications when people are in trouble and may be considering self-harm or any form of, ending their lives. It also ties to, Ms. Kramer also mentioned in the board, just heard a presentation by NAMI Bucks County, Nick Amy and Mia Spokozy. We're looking at partnering with them. I know there was a partnership in the past, but we're looking to return to that partnership through a program called Elementary Small Talk, as well as Ending the Silence, which is a 6 through 12 program related to suicide. So we are, as Mr. Barrios started with, we are looking to bolster our resources and services within the school district, hence the change from just activities to student services. So this is in line with our thinking from the angle of the board as well as the school district. An upcoming program in addition to QPR is also a potential bullying presentation, which then the board heard this evening. Presentation by Ron Roland, who works for the Bucks County IU. He did an excellent, albeit brief, presentation for the board where he talked about bullying. He defined bullying, which is an important first step, because just because someone insults you doesn't necessarily mean it qualifies as bullying. So it's an effort by the school district to talk to parents and community members and even students about what does bullying look like and what are the most effective steps to prevent it and to support what we'll call the victim in this circumstance. The final program that we're looking at for the school district this spring is called iSmart. That program will likely occur in March of 2025, and the focus for iSmart is really on educating parents, and this is an outreach by the board and the superintendent as well, to talk about what internet safety looks like for kids. Really, from what I understand, even kindergartners now have cell phones. So really looking at K to 12, what we can do to help support kids and parents who can use their electronic devices in a safe way. So those are all the upcoming aspects of the Student Services Committee, again, to bolster not just our resources, not just our staffing, but also what parents and community members can partner with the school district in terms of next steps for us. Any questions, thoughts?
Well, sounds great. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Yes, thank you for admin for finding these great programs. And I appreciate your effort to think of our students holistically. It's really important.
Yeah, students,
Thank you.
parents, teachers, thank you.
And all of them.
Thank you.
So that is it for Student Services. Our next Student Services Committee meeting will be scheduled for February 3rd. We'll see if there's public comment. And then after this committee will be curriculum. There is, okay. There's no
There
public
is no comment, there is only one public.
Gee, do you have anything to say?
All right. Thus begins our first 2025 Curriculum Committee meeting. First up, Program Improvements Education Career Academy with Mr. Dyer.
Or wherever you want, there's your name.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the honor to talk to you about a great program here at the high school. Before I get started, many thanks to Mr. Thomas and Mr. McCullough for all the behind the scenes work they do for us, making at least me look good up here. So thank you for all your efforts. So I'm here today to talk to you about a new program, Education Career Academy, for our high school students. The program is very similar in structure to our Medical Career Academy, which was approved by the board last year. This is to enhance students who are interested in going into the world of education. So students who want to be either teachers, paraprofessionals, or some role in education, sort of get a firsthand experience of what it's like to become a teacher. As a teacher myself, you go through school and your educational classes and you do all this work, get ready to become a teacher. Your last semester of your college career, you're shipped off to some, school out in the country, and you're like, what am I doing? And can I do this? And a lot of times college students at that time hit that wall. And I've had a couple student teachers that I've accepted in my classroom who come to my classroom and they're like, I wish I would have known about this earlier or had some previous experience. So the goal of this program is to give kids that previous experience while they're in high school, in a nutshell. So we'll send them out into our local schools, the elementary or middle school level, and they'll work alongside one of our professional teachers, and they're going to do a number of observation hours, and then they're going to do some practicum hours where they're actually developing or help develop lessons, activities, and projects for these students. So on better judgment, we call it the Education Career Academy versus the Chloe Kircher Academy. So Chloe Kircher is a senior in our school, wonderful student that many of you know. She was sort of our test subject or guinea pig for this program, where she goes down to Guth for 2 blocks of her day, and she's been working with Mrs. Childs, so shout out to Mrs. Childs, thank you for all your help there. Mr. Matt Smith, the principal of Guth, they've been fantastic to work with and been very accepting of Chloe, so she's been doing a fantastic job, and actually just informed me today that she is signing up for another semester of this program, so she can do it for her last semester here at Pennridge. So we're very proud of her and all her hard work. Back to the nuts and bolts. This is a 1-credit class. It is a 1.0 credit for juniors or seniors. If you remember, the Medical Career Academy is only 1 credit for our senior level class, because our partner that we work with is St. Luke's for the medical career, and they only accept seniors. So this is opened up to our 11th and 12th graders, because our current partner that we're working with is a little bit more open, which is Pennridge School District is our current partner. So we're very open to some of our juniors participating as well. And we'll talk about scheduling and all that information. So again, it's here to help our students who want to become educators in their future career through the Career Academy. So it would be an elective. It's part of our Pennridge School District goal of the comprehensive plan that you're all very familiar with and actively participating in. So the one caveat is the students are required to provide their own transportation. I do not have transportation through the Career Center as of yet to transport the kids back and forth to their delegate schools. So they'll have to either work out transportation on their own through their family, or most of them probably drive by the junior, senior year, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But it is something that we have to address and make sure that they're aware of before they enter.
Would we let them walk to Guth?
They could walk to Good, they could walk to North, so if transportation is an issue, obviously we'll try to mitigate that as much as possible and give them a placement that's closer to the high school.
Yeah, okay.
So we're more about getting them into the program and the experience,
Yeah.
as opposed to, well, I want to go back to Bedminster where I went to elementary school, it's great, but if you can't get there, you're getting no value out of the program. So, yes, we will be able to utilize our closer proximity schools. The program is an application-based program for juniors and seniors. We want to make sure that we're putting our students in the best place to be successful. If they're struggling here at the high school to maintain, a GPA that's acceptable and, really showing that they're able to perform this kind of work, we want to make sure that we focus on their own academics first before we send them out into our public schools. Also, they'll have to maintain certain GPAs when they get to college to be a teacher, so we're just setting that bar for them early. So the classroom observations, they'll do some job shadows, lesson delivery, all that's part of their senior release. So when they schedule this program with their counselors, they'll have a fourth block, or a final block of the day will be as a junior or senior release, so that way they can go and participate in the program. So that will get them out right around 12:42-ish, 12:47. Then they will transport to the school, and most elementary schools are in school until about 3:45, 3:50, depending on the school location. So that'll give us some time in the classroom with the students. We also can make it work if they have the first period or off where they can, our first block off, so they can go do in the earlier morning with the students. Again, as long as they have their own transportation, we can make the session work. Lunch release even in the middle of the day, if they have a study hall and then their lunch, so that would give them an hour and 28 minutes or something like that, where they're able to go and participate in the middle of the day. So we're flexible with their schedule, whatever works best for them. On the second page, you'll see letter E. Anybody who completes this program and is successful in their program, they'll be able to go to college and receive their secondary cert or their post-secondary education certification to be a teacher. Pennridge has offered to guarantee them an interview here at Pennridge. Going through this program and then going to work to get their teaching degree, we're offering them an opportunity to sit down with us and interview here at the school district, so whether it's elementary, middle, or high school level. So that was Mr. Barrio's great idea, to sort of incentivize them to come back home. Right, we like our kids to come back home. So how the program's going to work with making sure they're meeting certain criteria. They need to complete a total of 90 hours of observation, or job shadow, practicum, which is a mentorship program. So this is where they're actually hands-on engaged, either at the elementary or the middle level, some combination of, maybe they want to explore elementary and then realize, it's not really for me. Can I switch gears and go to the middle level? Absolutely. We don't want to discourage anybody. The key with the 90 hours is that's equivalent to going down basically an hour a day for a semester, right? So we're hoping that will be sufficient for them. Like Ms. Kircher's doing now, she signed up for another semester for non-credit, but she values the students so much and the experience that she's really enjoying. So there'll be a base minimum of 90 hours there. And the goal here is during their observation time, they're sort of just observing their, a wallflower, seeing what's going on in class, how the teacher operates, how to handle certain situations, really just shadowing the whole experience. And the practicum time, they actually become a hands-on learner. They're starting to develop those lessons, they're developing activities, they're really working hands-on with the kids and bringing their own touch into the classroom. And I think that's where a lot of the growth happens, because they really see, one, what they're good at and how they make connections with kids and figuring out, okay, this class really likes to do hands-on projects, so they'll focus more on that, or whatever the case may be. And of course, they're going to be working closely with the professional teacher in the room, so there's going to be a lot of opportunity for question and answering and how would you handle this, or how should we do this next time, or what improvements can we make? So those unofficial conversations really help create that setting of learning for both the students that are interacting with as well as the students participating in this program. So there's going to be some sharing of information. We recommend the students who are interested in this type of career, these are some of the high school courses that we recommend to them that may be useful in their teaching career. I need to add another one or another group is our unified classes, our unified PE, and possibly our art and music that are maybe being talked about. Also great opportunities for kids to work alongside kids here at the high school, which is a great opportunity for many of our students. So those courses, they're just basics. They're not a requirement. They don't have to take those courses. But if you're serious about this career, these courses may teach you a lot of what you need to know. So how do we evaluate what the student is doing? Most of it's going to be done through log journals that the student's going to keep about their experience. Ms. Kircher turns in a log journal to me, and she records very accurately what she's doing in the class, what experiences she's having, what she's learning, what challenges she's experiencing, things like that. Those journals then will become part of their summary for the grade, because it is a 1-credit course, so this will help us evaluate that student's performance, along with input from the building level principal and the professional teacher that the student is working aside with. So there'll be some basic evaluations that will occur of, was the student on time, were they dressed appropriately, was their interactions appropriately, what growth have you seen, what areas need to be worked on. It just sort of gives us an overall experience of an adult's perspective, that student's interaction with fellow students. So to record, and this part goes towards our gathering of some artifacts for our students for our Chapter 339 enhancement, is they're going to have to complete some reflections on their experience on Canvas. So through the Canvas course, Career Pathways Canvas course, they'll be able to fill out a reflection of their experience, what they're really enjoying about it, and learning from the program. And again, if needed, we can submit that or add that to their artifact tabulation if needed. All right, so again, we talked about the reviews of attendance, punctuality. This would all be feedback that's provided from building level principals as well as their professional teachers. Currently, there's no additional cost, right? So, wish I could use that for Christmas budget, but right now, there's no additional cost to this program. So, it'll be supported fully through the College and Career Center. So, myself and Mrs. Lewis will help support as well as needed. These students interacting with these other buildings. So the organization, it will be solely on to the student. So we will provide the contact information for the building level principal. Their instructors sort of reach out, make that contact, build that relationship. We want that to be part of their skill set in reaching out to professionals. We're there, of course, to help to pre-read emails or help them formulate what they want to say. But the idea is the student initiates the contact with one of our building principals, and all the principals are on board from previous years, so it's not going to be anything new to them. It's not like, what's this program going on, right? So they're all fully aware, and the students will make that contact, set up that initiation meeting, and then either they're going to have a teacher they want to work with that's already communicated that, or the principal of the building will find a teacher within their building that has time and willingness to work with their students. So there's no new staffing that's needed, there's no additional cost, and we're not replacing any courses at this time, so it's just an additional academy for our students to really grow, who want to become teachers in the future. I think that's perfect for our situation. Any questions? And I can talk another hour if you need about this for sure. Sometimes it's tough to stop. I see the break over there from Dr. Shine, like, enough.
You've won us over.
I think this is great. Thank you very much. You may have already gone over this, so I apologize. Are students able to pick a focus? Like, I'm interested in elementary or special education. If you already said this, I apologize.
They, to some degree.
Okay.
Like, I can't guarantee that they're gonna get, you know, ELL special ed, you know, at Grass, but we can do the best that we can.
Okay.
It has to fit with our professional teacher in the classroom and their schedule, and, you know, if you ever worked in an elementary school, like, you may have a really great class one year, and then the next year, you're like, what is this type of thing? So we wanna make sure that we're not negatively impacting the students who are in the classroom learning. So you can't guarantee that, but absolutely, we will try everything we can to get them into their preference, which elementary they wanna go into, what focus area they wanna do, absolutely.
And are they able to do it at the high school, or I guess it doesn't really fit into the schedule? If they want to be a math teacher.
We've had some kids do job shadows.
Yeah.
Like, I had a senior go down to a freshman level class. It works to some degree, and I'm not sure if we're ready, because what happens is you have peers now.
Right.
So we're instructing peers, and a lot of our classes are available 9 through 12 or 10 through 12. And I want to be careful where we tread on that area. They can get their middle level experience, which is going to be very similar. If they want to go see a
That's
science
true,
class,
right.
they can go watch a science class. If they're like, I don't know if I want to deal with kids, well, you can go watch 8th grade science, or you can get into a math class at that level. So if they're that specific, then middle level might be a better option.
You're right.
It's just,
That makes more
we had
sense.
some experience with some observations with high school students, observing other high school students who are interacting, and it can get touchy, and
Yeah,
we want to avoid that as much as possible.
you're right.
So I can give them that same experience at North,
Right.
so.
Yeah, a middle
Perfect.
school student's gonna see a high school student and go, that is somebody who's at a different level than me, whereas a high school student sees a high school student, and that's a peer.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
And then you see them in the lunchroom, you're like, so.
With the addition of the education career, how many total pathways or programs like
So this will be our second, so we have the medical career and then
Okay.
the education
Got
career
it, okay.
right now. So, yeah, they're the two specified areas that we're really able to give kids a really hands-on experience.
Okay.
As we develop our business partnerships in the future, and we bring on some more partners that are really willing and able to help us facilitate this, maybe we develop an engineering one in the future where we work with a firm that's able to provide consistently
Yep.
on a regular basis these opportunities. So that's the key right now.
Okay,
But yes, they're the two that we do have.
okay. So when business professionals come in and give talks and presentations, that's not necessarily medical or
Totally, yeah.
education?
So we still bring in professionals from every different pathway, whether it's arts and communications, in industry and science, or health, or whatever. We still bring them in on a monthly basis, and all students can sign up for that interaction, where they come listen to them for an hour and so forth. So that's still operating. We still have our job shot and field trips occurring as well. So this is 4 credit. This is going to be
Okay.
built in their
And
schedule.
very focused.
Yes,
These are
very
very
highly
focused.
focused.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
These are the kids who are like, I want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
I want to be a nurse. We can give you hands-on experience. Actually, one of the young ladies in the medical school, or the medical academy, just observed her first surgery. So she
Wow.
just scrubbed in on Friday in the
Wow.
operating room, this far away from the surgery. So
Wow.
she's like, I want to do this again.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Good for
So
her.
that more broad program is for students who are exploring and
Still
gives them a
figuring it
taste
out.
of a
Yep.
bunch of different
And then
things.
hopefully we'll get them narrowed down as they progress through high school.
Yeah.
In their senior year, maybe more academies available for them to focus their learning more precisely, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Have you had any discussions with the union? Because of the fact that you're bringing students in
Mhm.
to help them out, teach other students. Is there any complication with the union contract?
It would be no different than bringing a student teacher in, per se. So if I have
Alright,
a
alright,
student
okay.
from
Thank you.
Lowersville or something come in,
Yep.
it's really not a difference. They're not, the current student involved in the program, she's teaching a 15-minute, 20-minute activity out of her 2 hours, 2.5 hours she's there. So you're not looking at, they're gonna teach for hours It's,
Nice.
it's,
Okay, thanks.
it's a small sample set, but it's good point though, thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you very much.
I don't have
Thank
a
you.
question, but I have a comment. I just want to thank you, commend you, Dr. Scheid, for putting this together. I think it's just an excellent step in the right direction. And truly encapsulates pathways. And I love the part where we will guarantee, you know, a Pennridge student an interview. We won't guarantee a job, but we will
Well, no, you can't
do our best to, I think it creates a great pipeline. As you know, we have a teaching shortage in the Commonwealth, and I think it's just fantastic. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Dr. Scheid is the brains behind the activity. I'm just the eye candy up here, so.
Look at it.
Unless I'm looking in the mirror. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, elementary social studies updates with Miss Jenna Vitale. You're up.
Hello. So I'm here to update social studies. With the new, for elementary, we, as you know, we brought in a new resource. And so I'm here to give you an update on what's been happening as far as trainings with the teachers and all of the great work that the instructional coaches have been doing. So think of professional learning in this case in 3 different layers. So this first slide shows the professional learning timeline that was in the professional learning calendar that was done the year before. These are all of the hours that, that we schedule ahead of time for the curriculum office, whether it's training. These are hours where we have training for anything, any of the core subjects. And so when you look at August, there's 3 hours in August where we did grade partner alignment. That was the very first training that we did. So basically the grade partners sat together in a room and all from all 7 schools and looked at the resources. A lot of times that was the first touch that they had. Then we went to Atlas and reviewed Atlas, looked at how the resources and the standards matched the learning goals. So that was 3 hours in August. Then you see the 1 hour in September. That was a grade level meeting, so that's why it's also not 3 hours. So we're working with little like spurts of time here and there. So in that 1 hour, we were able to get a Savvis training from the trainers at Savvis. That's the parent company of the publisher. And then we did assessment analysis. So we looked at those assessments. And we worked backwards from there, looked at those assessments, looked at where in the resource the questions from those assessments were coming from, and then again, we sat with grade partners to discuss making sure that we're all in alignment, we're not lockstep with one another, they're certainly not all doing the same exact thing on the same exact day, but there is the expectation that we're all working on the same unit. And this week we're about the same trajectory of the scope, and the sequences all kind of within a week or 2 of each other with all 7 schools. That was really the goal with this resource, was to align all 7 schools. Then in October we had 4 hours of training. We again had a session with the trainers from Savvis. Then we again did assessment analysis, and we did a pacing analysis as well. In November, we did, again with the assessment analysis, it is a bigger job than you would think just having the tests. The tests are already done for us, yes, but then we have to look at how those assessments are driving our instruction. And so that's why we're doing so much analysis there. Then we have vocabulary strategies. So we talked as a group about the best ways to approach vocabulary and the scope of the words. They're difficult words. And so how best to teach them. We brainstormed ideas for activities, and the coaches came up with a really great infographic that we sent out just for vocabulary strategies. And one of the coaches even developed vocabulary cards that we made for every single unit, for every single vocabulary word in the entire resource, and every classroom now has them. Most classrooms have them displayed while they're teaching social studies. We also talked about instructional strategies and content alignment. So those are all, that's just the professional learning that we did as a district during in-service time, grade level meetings, or already assigned hours. So like, for example, if Christine in science needed an hour, we would trade off there. But these are the district assessment hours that were put in the calendar. They're different from these hours, which are the PLT offerings. So the PLT offerings are your professional learning time that's outside of the school day or outside of the calendar time that's already scheduled for in-service or professional learning. There have been 11 hours so far for PLT offerings. For example, we ran sessions on supporting learners in social studies. These are all the titles in quotes. Visual literacy in social studies. So one of the big skills is using visuals as information. So whether that's a picture, whether that's a graph, or a map, that's a skill that we felt as an instructional team that we really wanted to focus on. So some of the coaches did a really wonderful job of putting together not just PLTs for visual literacy, but also videos, even a podcast, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Then we went into strategies for primary social studies, meaning grades 1 and 2. Grade 5 social studies learning support, we did 4 sessions, 4 PLT sessions on that. And we have, so far, 4 hours of a 5 and 10 podcast done by Chris Brockman, one of our instructional coaches. And it has been, it's not necessarily for PLT, but you can choose to do it for PLT. You can even choose to listen to it in your car on the way home. He does a great, it's 5 history facts in 10 minutes podcast. And it's closely related to a specific unit and a specific grade in our social studies. So maybe it's grade 1 geography. Here are 5 facts, 5 things to keep in mind when you're teaching, and he does it in 10 minutes. It's really excellently done. I think he's got probably, I think this is he's releasing his 6th episode today. Then we had ELD and learning support and social studies. We had 2 sessions on that. ELD and social studies was something that, because we went from only clustering our ELD students at Guth to having them at every elementary school this year for level 3 and above, or level 2 and above, they are, it's something that we have to discuss as modifications, accommodations, and any other instructional supports that those students need along with learning support. So that was 11 hours so far. Total of 23 hours, because here are our future PLT offerings. These are the ones that are coming up this year. We have, again, supporting learners, visual literacy, 1 more hour. There are 2 self-paced sessions for grades 4 and 5 visual chapter walks. So what that is Chris Brockman again decided to take it a step further, and he screencasted the resource. So chapter 3 of grade 4, he went page by page by page and did a screencastify of each page of the social studies resource. He went through all of the content, all of the skills, and all of the activities, also the modifications and accommodations on each page of the chapter. So they're about an hour long, those sessions, but they're wonderful, they're easy to follow. You can jump to a specific lesson. There are 2 of those so far, and based on feedback, we're going to see if we get the feedback, then he'll do more. But so far, he just did grades 4 and 5. And again, we have 8 more hours, 8 more episodes of his 5 and 10 podcast as well. And then we have 2 more sessions of ELD and learning support in social studies. So you have your district offerings, you have your professional learning time offerings, and then we have embedded professional learning. So this is the third layer of support. We have 26, so far this year, we have 26 total coaching sessions. So a coaching session could be anything from a model lesson, a teacher and a coach working together to accommodate a student's needs, whether they're ELD, special ed, or just a student that needs something accommodated for them. Doing any kind of co-teaching or collaborative planning for the resource. So a total of what I accounted for with professional learning between the coach, for the coaches, between the coaching sessions and the professional learning time that they've designed and come in this room and worked with teachers on about 60 hours just for the coaches.
Jenna, the PLT is, the elementary teachers can pick and choose that on their own, right?
Yeah, this is everything that occurs outside of the school day. So they can either come and get their hours, or they don't necessarily have to.
They could choose something different. Okay.
And are these done online, or are some of these done in person?
The only ones that are done online would be the chapter walks. Those are virtual, they're online, and they're self-paced, so you can do them at whatever time you want, and the 5 and 10 podcast.
Okay.
My question is for like the learning support, for elementary school, they get pulled for like ELA or math, depending on like their IEP, but social studies and sciences in the classroom. So then for the learning support and ELD, what does that look like? Just like accommodations and modifications? Or is that like push-in, or what does that look like when it's like to support, I guess, learning support in social studies? What does that look like?
All of the above. I know the ELD teachers, I'm also the ELD supervisor, they push in.
Okay.
They of course don't get to every single classroom every single day, but they push in during social studies and science. Learning support, it is a little bit of both. It's pushing in, but we also, these 2 sessions and then the 2 sessions that we're going to be doing in the future, we're looking at the assessments, and I actually just spent time doing this today. So I had the learning support teachers go through the tests
And modify it?
and make notes. So I can manipulate, the way Savvis works is that you download it to Word and then you can change everything in Word. So I'm actually manipulating the number of answer choices they have, bolding certain words in the questions, changing questions around, making things multiple choice where they're not multiple choice, or today I was fighting with the formatting, trying to align so that the students could circle something rather than draw a line to it. All based on what the feedback was from the learning support teachers.
I said, you talked about vocabulary strategies. I said a few questions, well, one question. Is it that the vocabulary being used in Savvis is like different than what was being used before?
In
Okay.
some cases, yes. Not in every case. In 1st and 2nd grade, the vocabulary, the content remained virtually the same. There's some changes here and there. 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade, there are some content changes. So teachers may not have had vocabulary cards or word walls made prior to this year. So in order to alleviate some of that extra time, it doesn't take that much time on Canva to, make a word wall. But for our teachers to have to take that time to do that, we just felt as a coaching team and an instructional team that let's do that legwork for them, and that we've gotten, Dana Pennridge did that, and we have gotten such great feedback. That little bit of support really made the teachers feel great, because they were like, I could totally do this on my own, but I'm so glad that you did that for us. It's in Atlas, anyone can just print them out, so.
And how's it working with the students? Are they digesting the information well, or like how?
I've made a point of going into every single classroom when they're teaching social studies, because they do 6 weeks on and 6 weeks off. So when they're in social studies, I try to get into every single classroom, and I work. I get down there with the kids and I talk to them, and they are doing really great things. They're excited about, especially geography. We hadn't done a whole lot of geography in the 1st and 2nd grade. And in first and second grade, they are doing geography, and so they get really excited about looking at the states and identifying the difference between a city and the difference between a state. And I watched them do, there's a program that we use that helps them identify the shapes of the states, not just the names, but, and they were really excited. They get little points and all of that. Tomorrow I'm going in to see a first grade class. They're learning absolute location, and that's something that they hadn't really done they hadn't used that vocabulary term. They did like your address, but not necessarily calling it absolute location. So I told the teachers I'm gonna probably be popping in because I wanna see how you're doing that. I wanna see what it looks like.
Have you had to make any adjustments yet? Or I know there's a lot of adjustments in general, just rolling out the new program, but is there anything you've seen and you're like, actually we want to do this a little bit differently?
The visual literacy, there's a lot of visual literacy questions on the assessments.
Okay.
And some of the way that it's taught in the resource, so for example, there's a picture of Columbus leaving on his voyage, and the picture in the resource was different than the picture that was offered on the assessment. So how to have the students know that that is the same picture, it's the same content, it's the same concept, but it might not look exactly the same, and how to teach that. But just beyond the pictures, using visual literacy as a skill, so talking about not just using a map, but how are things related within that map? And then how are things related to the content, and how are they going to be related, or how were they related to something prior? Those are things that I didn't really anticipate was something that we would need to pivot around, and we did, and we absolutely got feedback, and it was great. And so we met as a team to strategize the best way to attack that. And so I think we have supported with, Chris has done a great job of the visual literacy.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The coaches have spent hours upon hours. We pulled every single picture book that every single school had for the last 30 years for our Native American unit, because the resource was a little thin with Native Americans. We felt that they needed to have a little bit more robust lessons and activities around that. So we pulled every book, and we kept track of how many books Guth has of this one book that Guth has as opposed to Deibler, and it must have taken the coaches did it all. They pulled all the books, they brought them here, made a spreadsheet, and then we developed it into an activity, and then we just designed which grades are gonna do which stories, and making sure that we have enough copies, we don't have to purchase anything else. So yeah, it's been a great experience. A lot of learning by all of us, but I really think it's going to be worth it. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So question on the vocabulary as an example, is that a benefit or a positive outcome of all being on the same resource, would you say?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think, for example, that the terminology, using the words absolute location in first grade, is, I think, setting the foundation for students to be learning that academic vocabulary in class. Instead of just saying, what's your address? Or how can you walk from the park to your house, but making that more of a robust idea for the students. This is what absolute location is. It's as simple as saying, yes, this is a place in relation to another place. However, it does have that terminology, so that when they get to third grade and fourth grade, and the idea is that they'll have that forever.
It certainly has raised the expectation for it. And we know how challenging it was. It was very challenging at the beginning of the year, and there were frenzied teachers, so we certainly understand that. But the work that Jenna and the coaches have done to support teachers really has been amazing. And I too want to applaud Dr. Brockman on this podcast, because what that really is doing, but we understood that the actual history, the social studies, the learning, the content, teachers need some support with. That's what they're terrific. If you get a chance, click on that link and take a look.
Yeah, I learned things
Me
from
too.
what I listened to his podcast. Yeah, he's very, very knowledgeable, and when he does the visual walkthroughs, he'll point out, holes in the story. Like, what they're not telling you here is that X, Y, and Z also happened. And so this is a really good learning opportunity to bring this up to the students as well. And I think that's really special to have somebody that is able to do that and support teachers in that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, January 7th Middle School Science Update with Miss Christine Tamburino.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm very excited to share with you our science resource implementation update regarding our Twig Science resources that we adopted in July of 2024. So far, our overview is the middle school science grade levels 6, 7, and 8 are utilizing new resources for our science instruction. Our focus this year has been aligning instruction to Pennsylvania STEEL standards and enhancing student engagement through the integration of the Twig Science learning resources. Our year 1 goals have been to build teacher confidence and capacity in using the Twig Science resources and the digital platform that we are having. We are hoping to ensure fidelity in the curriculum delivery and monitoring student progress through common assessments and provide targeted support. So here is a small visual regarding the timeline that we have seen. Again, beginning in August of 2024, we did have our onboarding with a Twig representative here for an entire day to support our teachers in getting to know what was available to them. In September, we began our classroom visits with both coaches and supervisors and begun our teacher collaboration, welcoming lots of feedback from our teachers in regards to what's working and what they would like additional support with. These classroom visits have continued with our coaches and myself, as well as professional development through the fall. We began working with teacher teams, meeting for professional learning time at the grade level, and those meetings did begin in November. And we are definitely looking ahead to January to provide additional teacher support, and this is based on the feedback that we've received from teachers regarding our areas of focus. So just another breakdown of the experiences that teachers have had for our professional development, which was our August 21st and August 22nd onboarding days. Then we've had our department meetings and professional support through our meetings as grade level teams. Ongoing supports that will continue and we expect to continue throughout the year are our classroom visits and school check-ins. These have been very valuable in gathering observation of students working with the materials, teachers allowing us to be welcomed into their rooms to really show us what's happening with Twig, with the platform itself, and how students are reacting to these resources. The grade level team professional learning time, which is that PLT time, has proven to be very valuable for our teachers because it allows them to meet to discuss upcoming lessons and strategies that we might need for making adjustments to learning sequences or even making adjustments to support students through scaffolding and differentiation. Again, we're really looking forward to the upcoming professional learning opportunities. We have a number of presentations happening in our January harvest harvester learning sessions. And we are actually, this is our next check-in with a Twig representative. So we've gathered from teachers feedback on what they would like support from Twig directly, as well as what we can do as a community to support teachers. So we'll have both of those opportunities available to teachers on January 24th. We are talking with the Twig representative, and our focus there is on maximizing student engagement and deepening conceptual learning for students. And then we have teacher-facilitated optional sessions, which include Twig lesson resource support. We've met this fall with our learning support teachers to talk a little bit about how we're making those adjustments for learners in the classroom and what is still needed to make sure that this is accessible to all of our students. Writing in science, our claim evidence reasoning has become a primary focus for all of our students, and teachers have noticed a significant impact on the frequency and repetition of writing with a specific target and strategy, building from 6th grade all the way through 8th grade. And our teachers have actually noticed that students, especially in 7th and 8th grade, have shown significant growth at this point in the year based on the impact of making that a frequent occurrence within the classroom. And that is something that Twig has embedded into their curriculum because it is an expectation of STEELS. That students will be able to rationalize and utilize. I know you've heard me speak of this before, taking those multiple resources and being able to devise the claim, provide the evidence, and explain with their own reasoning. So it's really nice to have been able to speak to you about that with our intention of getting this program, and then to see it really come to fruition with multiple examples of students kind of making progress in that area. And again, we have an opportunity for Twig teacher collaboration. The teachers have done a tremendous amount of work to really get to know the Twig resources. And a number of things have changed this year, including which content is instructed in which areas. And this is in alignment with the Pennsylvania STEELS standards and that adoption that we've made and that those changes that are happening in real time. So I really just want to bring to everyone's attention that it has been such a collaborative effort with our coaches, with our teachers, with our support staff, in really helping students in better understanding the shift that is needed to be in line with the STEELS. Because again, science instruction has been one way for a very long time, and with this shift there was some apprehension about the challenges, and so really supporting students in working on those science and engineering practices, the skills, being able to build and make those connections. And something that has been truly tremendous is the amount of work that the teachers have done in collaboration with one another, the amount of information and resources that are being shared between schools, between teachers, has really just provided us with a foundation and a wealth of information that we can utilize to refine our practice and really make this program and these resources very helpful for our students. And we are very excited to see how the program builds on itself from year to year. Are there any questions?
I have a question about the writing. So is it more writing than it used to be, or
It is.
different?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Claim
Good.
evidence reasoning is a strategy that our teachers have utilized before. What Twig has done is embedded these experiences within the lesson to allow students multiple opportunities to also build their evidence and reasoning over time by introducing additional resources that maybe present an alternative perspective or give them a little more information so that they can build up what would be a comprehensive with multiple sources of information.
Okay, good. So does
Yeah.
that mean the students are complaining?
Wow! Who have you been talking to?
They don't know what's good for them.
There has been, I mean, like anything, there have been some definite changes.
Sure.
Like, are we sure we're still in science? Yes, we are. But I think what has really become very apparent is that students are getting multiple experiences with writing in science, how that is similar to social studies and RELA, and also how it's different. And I think it's really building a very nice conversation between the teachers and the students on how this might apply to them moving forward. When would they have to utilize this type of scientific reasoning and writing to provide, rationale and to share their thoughts and perspectives.
Yeah. Seems like a good muscle to exercise.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, strategies to support improved students' performance with Dr. Scheid. and Mrs. Ripp.
Good evening, everyone. And I'll just ask for your forgiveness ahead of time because I have a flu and I'm coughing, so I'll do my best. I just wanted to thank the supervisors who are here tonight, and you saw them present. And Mr. Darsh is here, and Sarah is here to present with me. They're amazing. It's such an honor to work with them. I just want to say thank you. Because I know you know that we implemented 2 really very challenging programs this year. And we were bold and brave, and you gave us the support to do it, and we appreciate that. But we really feel like all the support with the Office of Teaching and Learning, including the coaches, really have helped all the teachers get over the hurdle. When you get the teachers to go over the hurdle, the kids start to relax, and this will become common practice for them. The more writing they do, right, the more better literate they're going to become. So all the things we talked about, we're really starting to see happen, so we thank you for your support on that. What we're going to do is talk to you about some strategies we use to improve student performance. What we'd like to start doing is we prepared SMART goals, and SMART goals, really the acronym for being specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. So we hold ourselves accountable to major goals here. Then we're also going to come to the curriculum committee meeting periodically and provide you with updates. So that is what we are here to do tonight. So this is a big goal. We have been talking about Linkit for many years. We have used Linkit in our district for many years. It is a data platform. So it works in 2 ways. It is a warehouse. So all the data we use, the assessments we're talking about, the PSSAs, the keystones, classroom assessments, attendance, behavior, all the data we have sits in this repository. But it's an analytics system as well. And that is really what we've been doing over many years, is building the capacity of administrators and teachers to use Linkit. To use it so that they're using data to inform their instruction. Now, how do we do that in a systematic way? Really is through data teams. 90% of our schools have data teams. They're established data teams, and they include administrators, they include IST teachers and guidance counselors, classroom teachers. They are supported by the Office of Teaching and Learning, the coaches. We have professional development through Linkit. Our teacher is Amber, and she comes to the district and she provides support to us. So this has been going on for several years. The goal is to ensure that all 11 schools have a data team, right? And we are using the platform, the analytics system, to the best of our capacity to best meet the needs of kids. That is using the classroom data, the state data, all the data that we have to make instructional choices for kids. That's what this is about. So while 90% of the schools have the data teams in place, our goal is to make sure 100% of the schools have the data teams in place. They're meeting 24 times, twice a month throughout the year. And that in particular, the tested area teachers, the teachers who are teaching math and science and reading, and English, that we are ensuring that all the data that we have put into Linkit that is available to the teachers to use, and Jenna talked about it, Christine talked about it, that when teachers are sitting together and they're looking at their common assessments, that's one way to do it. Does that make sense? So really the data team, I just want to make sure we all understand what that is. So that will look like a large group of teachers in every building in the school that you can walk into a school and see teachers talking about particular kids. Building administrators talking about my 3rd grade students, right? The whole 3rd grade, the whole 4th grade. What does that look like? So they have a bigger perspective, and it drills down into how is each student doing. And if they're not succeeding, then why is that? And what can we do about assessments, end of the year assessments. So we get baseline in the beginning of the year, and you have heard of these words before. You'll see right up there, you'll see DIBELS, which is dynamic indicator of basic early learning skills. We test our students in the beginning of the year, and if you go over, you'll see it's K3. And these are the assessments we start with. So what are our baselines? Then, of course, we instruct, and we assess again mid-year, and so on. So until the end of the school year, these are set in stone. Teachers are aware of these. We share the PSSA information and the formative assessments and the CDTs. So the one version of CDT, classroom diagnostic tool, that we still use is in science, because I think Mrs. Raver's going to talk about Lincoln assessments. Lincoln has their own assessments, and they're in Lincoln. So kids are going in Lincoln, taking the assessments, all the data comes up instantaneously. It's beautiful. We would use that in our science class, except the Lincoln assessment in science is not fully prepared for the Steele standard. That is why we continue to use the CDT. So anyway, it's a broad picture, but it does boil down to we baseline, we teach, we provide interventions, we test again. It's a monitoring system. So our next goal, do you want to add anything else there? Do you want to add anything about Lincoln Benchmark?
So we transitioned this year in math and RELA to Lincoln Benchmarks from the CDT, which is still happening in science. And we had Amber from Lincoln come and work with the secondary math and English RELA teachers at the beginning of the year to make sure they were comfortable assigning the assessment and doing it with students, as well as then the data side of it, which is really important. So the expectation and practice at this point in both of our secondary departments in math and RELA is that the teachers who have access to these assessments and the data are engaging with that data to make small groups, to provide intervention, to provide enrichment, as well as to meet as course level teams and make decisions about curriculum. So because we have this data about these students in front of us, what does that mean for the curriculum that we have? Where can we make some adjustments, because we know we don't need to cover this skill as much, but we do need to go into this one that we thought maybe didn't need to be in these units. And they have done an amazing job actually embracing this process, the recursive data process that we put in place, and we have seen very targeted instruction occur because of that, and an uptick in our use of small group instruction at the secondary level, which we see pretty regularly at elementary, is really starting to go through our middle and high school classrooms as regular practice, and we know that that is really where we get the most improvement in our student outcomes, is when we can use small group instruction. So Lincoln has been very powerful in that regard for us this year in the transition to those assessments, because they are the same questions to the same students. They're not adaptive, so the teachers can really isolate what standards they need to look at and how does that relate to eligible content and therefore their curriculum, and kind of tier down from there. So that's how we've seen a change this year, just for your information.
And the next one, we're really focusing on teacher support and professional development. I know you hear PLT all the time, and PLT is professional learning time. Every teacher in the district is responsible for 21 hours. We are responsible for providing those hours, unless teachers come up with their ideas on their own, which they do frequently. And they have a process to go through for approval, and they all are responsible for completing the hours. So 100% of the teachers, that is what we have always done. 80% of the teachers is how we're measuring this. Will report satisfaction with the support provided by our coaches. That's what we're going to measure. 90% of the coaches will meet with the teachers or teams at least once a month to review instructional strategies and provide feedback. And I can tell you this is every day, every day, every day. That's where the coaches spend their time. They're in the classroom with the teachers. And you've heard that through the other supervisors as well. We wanted to highlight effective small group instruction because, as Mrs. Raver just indicated, elementary schools have always used small group instruction. You probably remember as an elementary student in your reading group, and they've always been there. What we know as effective instructional strategies with the best outcome is that small group instruction is one of the best strategies to get you there. That is why we have had a push since pre-pandemic, really, to be in our middle schools. And we started in math because math is the deficit that we're always looking at. And we had a group of coaches go in and model that. So you're going to see middle school math classes implementing small group instruction based on that data that we're talking about from Lincoln. What we started to do last year, and maybe probably the year before a little bit, is introduce it to the high school. And we have hard data of the institution of small group instruction in algebra classes as opposed to not are different. So that strategy is effective. What we're saying is 100% of K-9 math teachers would utilize that. That's not an option. We know that's effective, and that is what we expect teachers to use in math. We have it as 80% of classrooms in each school will consistently use it by mid-year, and that our district goal is a 10% increase in student proficiency anyway, so we added that in there. But we absolutely know that it improves student outcomes.
What does that look like in the classroom? Because I'm picturing when I was in middle school and high school, like, are kids just in small groups within the same classroom, or?
It's in the same
Okay.
classroom. I know there's been some work with the two Algebra 1 teachers at the high school where they're actually overlapping and working together, but typically what that looks like is we bought the Algebra 1 teachers, the whiteboards that look like a horseshoe, because the kids are writing on that. So you will see that in a number of, you'll see it in middle schools for sure. And then you'll see the teacher doing direct instruction with 5 kids maybe, because she or he has the data to say, I need to see you on this skill. And you'll see that rotating, where they're also using the data to say these 3 students, those 4 students, and these 5, they're all working on something else. Because the data indicates that's what they need to. And then you'll see it rotate. So the teacher gets. So I do want to say this about small group instruction. The research is clear about it. Instruction's affected through the teacher. So if I am a teacher and I have all of you and I'm teaching you, that's the first way to go. Teach the class.
Yeah.
Don't start with small group. Start with whole group because the teacher matters. Then break down your student groups into deficit areas or enrichment areas, because it isn't just for deficit areas. These kids are going, they're reaching their milestones, so you need to move them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's how it's working. It's not, I start with small group. I start with large group.
Thank you.
So foundations we've talked about, but I just want to reiterate that, and actually I'm going to have Sarah do more of this, but what we are saying is we have instituted kindergarten foundations. Foundations is a phonological phonics program, right, that is part of the 5 areas of reading. It's part of a balanced literacy model. And we instituted in kindergarten, and we instituted in grade 1. Last year you gave us permission, and we thank you, for instituting in grade 2. So currently right now, grade 2 teachers are going through this training. So that the goal is at the end of this year, all K-2 primary teachers will have the professional learning they need to be experts in that area to teach the program. That's what we're mission. I'm going to leave Sarah to talk more.
So we're in year 3 with grade 1 in terms of full implementation of foundations. We're in year 1.5 with grade 2. Last year we picked a teacher at every school and they used it as an intervention for 2nd grade. We learned a lot from that process, which allowed us to then make the recommendation to expand it for all 2nd grade students. So then we provided that professional learning in August for all 2nd grade teachers to be able to implement the program, as well as any new teacher to K1 or 2 if they weren't there before. At the beginning of the year, we bring them all in and provide the professional learning. It's not like we did 1st grade, and sorry if you happen to get there this year, there's no more learning. We always onboard them on a regular basis to make sure they all have that. So at this point, everyone has been through the full professional learning if they're providing instruction and foundations, also including ELD and special education teachers. And that's all been done in the district through our master's foundations teacher. She's one of our reading specialists, Sue Hansen at Guth Elementary, so that we don't have to contract out with Wilson every time we want to do a professional learning. That has also enabled us to provide ongoing support in the classroom. So twice, at least twice a year, Sue and I and Dana Lubinacci, one of the instructional coaches, go into every elementary building, we go into one classroom and do a model lesson or co-teaching lesson with our students, and the other two or one grade level partners from second grade or from first grade come into that classroom and all experience that together. Then we debrief together about what just happened and create some actionable steps in each building. So what happens at Guth is gonna be a different plan, right, than what happens at Bedminster, because the students are different, the teachers are different, the needs are different. So we're able to customize the programming as well as the professional learning for teachers, which has been extremely impactful in our implementation of the program and has really enabled our teachers to feel empowered to deliver the instruction and make instructional choices. Which goes back to that small group instruction as well. They're then able to say, I did this whole group, I know this is the scope and sequence we're supposed to be following, this is the milestone we should be hitting at this point, and I have the assessments to show me these 5 students need a little bit more, so I'm gonna double dose them in something, in that concept again, while still continuing forward, right? And then we're able to see that holistically, our students are making immense progress in their phonics application and understanding, which is imperative for our K-1-2 students. So by the end of this year, we'll be fully implemented, as well as we have 4 other reading specialists in the district currently going through the training to be a master teacher. So by the end of this school year, we will have 5 fully certified facilitation teachers in the district, so they will be able to support all 7 schools on a much more frequent basis than one person having to travel around to 7 while also being a reading specialist at the same time. She has a lot of hats. So I'm very, very excited about the opportunities that will provide to everybody in the district, because we have to now support K-1-2 fully, as well as our special education teachers, which we'll be able to do very easily with what we've done in-house.
So the 5 fully certified, that's with Wilson or in the Wilson?
So we partner with Wilson for the certification. They come here, the trainers come here into 2 host schools, and they then, that's actually another layer of support we have, because in the year that we are getting our reading specialists trained, they're going into our classrooms to train our reading specialists. So they're again working with our teachers and our reading specialists at the same time, so that then we can trickle that down. So we're in the process of that, right? We're halfway through, in the process of that right now, and then that partnership ends in June, and then we no longer need to contract with Wilson because we have 5 trainers of our own.
And that's, so we have 7 elementary schools, right? So almost 1 per building. Okay. Okay, good.
It's really building the capacity of expertise.
Right.
Here, so we're finally there.
Yeah.
We're finally there. So it's continuous assessment, right? That's what we're here for. That's what we're going to come and talk to you about. We are constantly monitoring the growth of students. So we will come back and we will tell you where we are with this, and we will share success stories with you, and we will talk to you about areas where we still need to work. Does anyone have any other questions? Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Jesse, we have one more. Yes.
And Dr. Scheid, I know you recognized all the supervisors, but would also like to recognize all the work you've done too in leading these efforts. It's been,
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed watching this all develop, so thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering all the questions. Thank you
It's
very
exciting.
much.
Certainly our pleasure. Now, these are our, these are our library. Is that everything? Okay, so if you had a chance to go through those, most of them are in
Yeah.
frequent use, or they're not in good condition, or they're lost. They're reviewed by 3 different people on the final one, and I approved all those. I didn't have any issues with those, if anyone has any questions. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next curriculum committee meeting will be February 3rd of 2025. It does not look like we have anybody
Jane, do
signed
you
up
have
for
any
second
comments?
public comment.